and welcome. I am your host, Michelle Calloway. The Tech with Heart show is all about empowering entrepreneurs to be embracing technology so they can stay competitive and relevant for long-term success in a rapidly changing digital environment. And one of the best ways that we can help you elevate yourself out of that sea of digital noise so that you are getting noticed and that you can attract more customers is to become a published author, whether it be a book or article in a magazine, or whatever you can do on your own blogs to promote your knowledge base to the world. That's a great way to differentiate yourself. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is tech tips in writing your own book, because it's actually a lot easier than a lot of people imagine. And so we have a very special guest today. Her name is PeggyLee Hanson, who's going to be talking to us about the 5 key elements that you'll need and tech tips to help you get that book written. So a little bit about PeggyLee is that she's the CEO and founder of Courageous Women Publications, which is a one-stop shop for all your writing and self-publishing needs to make your dream book come true. She says, we create your tell-all so easy that you can tell all. She is an international best-selling author, publisher, and speaker, and has over 30 years experience in all aspects of writing, including publishing, ghostwriting, instructional design, and even technical manual development. So she's got about 40 plus books and double that number in authors that she has helped. So welcome to the Tech with Heart stage, PeggyLee.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's an honor to be here with you and your audience. I'm so excited.
We're so excited to have you too. And we're so excited to dive right in because this is perhaps probably something that a lot of entrepreneurs are aware that they need to do, but maybe it just might feel a little too daunting. So I know that you've worked with a lot of authors, and so you're going to talk to us today about your 5 key elements that you really need to convey so that people understand what they need. And then we're going to go into some of the tech tips that they could use to make this process really easy, right? So can you start sharing with us a little bit about how you came to these 5 elements? Like, what was that process for you? And then we'll go into those 5 elements.
Oh, most certainly. I'd be happy to share. A lot of people, once they decide to write a book, have come to me and say, it's so hard to write a book. I want to write a book. People tell me I should write a book, but I don't even know the first place to start or how to start. And I heard this so many times over and over again that I decided to create a strategy to help my authors, or any author, not just my authors, but anyone who was writing with anyone else to, get their book out, their words of wisdom and expertise. And, it's always easier when you have a recipe. It's just like cooking. It's just like putting, a crib together or some sort of piece of furniture or a bicycle together. When you have the instructions to do it, the steps, it makes it so much easier with a lot less stress and a lot more confidence.
For sure. The confidence comes with having it laid out as far as the plan, the process, the ingredients, the strategy. And because a lot of times, we just don't know where to start, or we just don't know what we don't know. And so many people don't move into action because they're just kind of crippled in fear and discomfort of wasting time or doing it incorrectly and having to start over from scratch. So let's go ahead and start sharing with them. What are some of these elements that you choose to put together in this little recipe for success when writing a book, PeggyLee?
All right. The first element is the message. You want to define what is your overall message that you want to share. What is inside your heart that you want to tell the world over of what you are feeling, what you want to share? What is your reason for being here? What it is, your mission, perhaps your vision. So when you figure out, once you have your mission, or once you have your message together, then that will be the whole crux of your book or chapter if you're writing a compilation with someone. So that would be the first one, is your message. The second element is a quote. Now, who doesn't like a quote? A really good quote. You can get them from Shakespeare, you can get them from Maya Angelou, anybody, and some not so well-known people as well. But you also might have a quote of your own that you want to share, that that you repeat over and over and over again. So I always ask that you start the book. You can have the book or the chapter, and perhaps even every chapter begin with a quote. And that just sets up your reader as well for knowing what's to come. They get a general sense. So the first element is get your message together. The second one is find a quote or use one of your own. The third element of writing your book, creating your outline, these are good for also creating outlines, not necessarily just writing, the chapter in a book, is to tell the backstory. Give a little history. People love to hear, of what has happened to you in the past to get you to where you are today, because you are a success story, but you can't know how you have become a success without telling people first from where you came, where you were at a particular time, and what was that one thing that moved you to where you are today. So tell your backstory and be proud of that, because that is the reason why you are where you're at today. The next one is the all important. So this is item number 4, and this is the largest part, would be your main event. And the main event is telling your reader exactly what you're doing, what your process is, what your strategy is. It's your expertise, it's your wisdom. And make this as big and robust as you possibly can. You can share about 5 points within that. If you have like a 5-step system, 5-step strategy, 5 points on a checklist, this is the time where you want to do that. Now, you can have 3, you can have 5, you can have 7. I would suggest no more than 7, because after 7 different items, then I would start probably breaking them up into maybe a new chapter, but at least, have at least something there, because you don't want to really overwhelm your reader either. You want to give them your wisdom, and so that they can easily digest it and be able to implement it on their own. So we have, going back to the first, is your message, your quote, your backstory, and that was your main event. Next and last, the 5th element is the wrap up or the call to action. And this is where you want to ask your reader to take the next step with you, whether it is inviting them to connect with you on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media that you want, or they can download perhaps an item for you so that you can get them on your mailing list. And that is very key and important, is that you want to keep connected with your readers so that you can continue having that conversation with them, even though for the time being, it might be a one-sided conversation until they get familiar with you and you have webinars or some other kind of interaction with them where they can come and be with you. So the wrap up is also very important, and so how they can also connect with you as well, other than just the download.
Being able to do business online is crucial for survival, especially during times of social distancing. So how do you survive and thrive in the sea of digital noise? It's a lot like fishing. You need to know who your perfect customer is so that you can use the right kind of lure to attract them. We help you catch your perfect customer and retain them for future sales through highly converting websites, influencer mobile apps, getting you featured in the news and on TV. Hi, my name is Jerry Bowden, U.S. Army veteran and president of Revelio Software Solutions. Our goal is to help you rise above the competition, be seen as an expert authority in your industry, and embrace technology to stay competitive for long-term success. It's more affordable than you may think. So reach out to us at revelio.com, and together we will make your business come alive.
Yeah, because oftentimes they're like, wow, that was great. Now, there's got to always be what's next. And so that is a great way to wrap it up, is to let them know where to go to get more of you, more of your knowledge, more of your systems or whatever it is that you're promoting. I also want to just kind of, take this little formula that you just spoke about, these 5 elements. These 5 elements are the same 5 elements that can be utilized when you're really writing compelling copy on social media to drive people to a webinar or to drive people to an online course. You want to always have these elements. Quotes are powerful. We call them pull out quotes. Like when we do press releases, we always have a call out quote, because that is like something that the eye can be drawn to. It's usually short, or if it's too long, we tend to try and shorten it as much as possible with still maintaining it being a quote. But yeah, those are great, like just like digestible little sound bites kind of things that you would want to use even on social media, like memes. You might want to create some memes for yourself utilizing these quotes if it genuinely represents you and your brand and your purpose and your why and all those things. So I love what you're sharing, because it's a great way to obviously write a book, write articles. You can repurpose this formula again and again and again. I'm a big, huge advocate of video. And if you can take that formula and dissect it down and just do one tiny little micro video for each piece and then kind of create your own little series, that's also very powerful. What do you think about that, PeggyLee?
Oh, absolutely. Positively 100%, 1000%. This formula works for book writing, chapter writing, letter writing, anything, any piece of writing or anything that you are creating, speeches, and you said the videos, anything that you are doing, copywriting. And I think you mentioned that as well. It works for everything. And it's 5 points that are so easy to remember: message, quote, backstory, main event, wrap up. They're not long sentences that you do this ABC and go on to long things. It's 5 easy terms that you can use and memorize and just work on this all the time. And yeah, I guarantee you that your writing will go a lot faster and quicker, and it's easier, and it's nothing to be afraid of any longer.
So I also know that a lot of authors, after they, get their beautiful book written, or their compilation book, their chapter in their compilation book, and now they're a published author, then they're just like, okay, now what? And so, you can take that same formula and turn it into a signature talk and become a speaker and go and get hired for your expertise and what you bring to the table with that book, supporting you and giving you that credibility and that authority in that space. It's a beautiful thing. I'm really glad that we're having this conversation today, because Tech with Heart is about empowering entrepreneurs to be successful in a digital era. And whether it be a written book that people are reading in print, like physical print, or whether they are reading it through technology devices, like a Kindle, or whether they're listening to it through audiobooks. There is so much need for people to be fed and guided and led. And if your story really truly is what they need, then it's you need to do this. That is such an important part of being a business leader. So can you share with us a little bit of some of these technology tips that you use to help get people out of their head and get things start flowing out of them, either onto paper or digital paper or whatever? What is that process when it comes to technology for you and how you work with your clients?
Everybody is different and they have a different fear about technology and getting that writing out of their head, and down on paper. And it could be, using the pen and paper, which is fine. It's a great way to do it. But a lot of people also want to then think about, okay, so I've got it down in pen and paper. How do I get what I've written, into a digital format, which is used, fairly a good amount, and probably almost 100%, because everything is sent digitally these days. I don't know very much I don't know this 100%, but I don't know if anybody sends the big huge packets of thick manuscripts through the mail anymore, because it's a lot easier and quicker for people to just read it online. And I am working with a woman now, and she does everything on her phone. And so she was texting me everything that she was writing, and it was getting to be quite a bit. So I figured out a way so how she could still use her phone and text me by using my email address. So then whatever she writes then goes directly into my email. So I at least have it in the digital format on my computer or on my phone. I can read it, any which way, but that was just reason. So when you are looking to do something, talk to an editor, a publisher, someone like me, or even me, and we can figure out a way of how to make what your process is, what you're comfortable with, into making it work to get those words out and down on paper or in the file somewhere so that we can get them out.
It's a good point, because boy, texting is great for very short little conversations, but when you start going into long stuff, long messages, long back and forth, it definitely is great to have a paper trail. Email is a good place for that, but I'm also finding that shared drives, Google Sheets is perhaps a good one, because whatever changes are made or comments are made, it's real time. So both people, the editor and the author, could potentially be in there at the same time making changes, and it all captures it real time. But if you need to go back to an older version, you could. It's just a beautiful tool there, because then there's no back and forth, oh, which version is this? I can't remember. Oh, did I save over that? Oh, did you have access to that, or was it locked? There's things like Google Drive that seems like it might be good to work together, but perhaps writing it initially, whether it's a Google Drive or a Word doc, or a Pages for Mac users. It's just great to get that outline out, get it out of you. And then there's also some speech to text. When I first was trying to write my book, I was just like, man, I just wish I could just sit and tell stories and have somebody else write it. And I do know that you offer ghost writing services. So how do you work with some of your clients when it comes to being a ghostwriter? They just want to not have to do the writing. They just want to get it out of them. What do you do with them?
Yeah, and that's one thing that I was going to mention too. Another process is just sit and record. And how I work with my ghostwriting clients is that we meet on Zoom. Zoom does the video and it also captures the audio. So the audio is there. So I have a program that transcribes the audio. So I can, that's, half my battle right there. Zoom has transcription services that they offer themselves. So don't think you have to run out and find somebody, to be able to do the transcription for you. And I think they offer, it's like a $1.25 a minute or something charge, for whatever that you're transcribing. There's also places online like rev.com that will transcribe your audio. Also, they were at $1 a minute, I believe, at one point. And so there's several ways. And so how I do that is that I will interview the client, and we will set up like 10, 12, 15 sessions, one session per chapter per se, and on the average, I guess. And then usually an hour's worth of writing or of recording and talking back and forth is usually right around about 10,000 words or so. So you can get a pretty nicely robust written chapter, out of, one segment whenever we meet. So, I mean, there's all different kinds of things. And if you don't, if that doesn't work out, Word now, Microsoft Word has the text to speech or the speak to text. And so it makes it really easy. And it's really kind of nice as well, because you get practice in your diction so that your words aren't all mumble jumble together and you speak like this. You have to enunciate, and end your sentences and begin your sentences, and to open up your mouth and talk. So it's actually kind of a fun exercise. And then once you have that done, when you are also writing and maybe doing some of the editing, Microsoft Word also allows you to hear somebody else read it. So they have a voice where the command, I think, is read aloud, and where they have a male voice. And I think you can change the voice from male to female or dialect as well. And so that, you can actually hear if the sentences that you wrote read correctly.
That's really cool. I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because those are very powerful tools. Artificial intelligence is really shaping things up for those of us who are having to write a lot of content, or authors that are finally, ready to just dive in and get that book written, because it's such a monumental shift in how people perceive you. When you're able to say that you're an international author, bestselling author, or an author, just having that credible piece behind you stating, yes, I'm authority in this space. What I say is, truth, and I'm not just, making it all up. It's a good way to differentiate yourself. Also, I just want to piggyback on what you said about the videoing. When you get the client on there with you and they're more or less sharing their story, those are great little sound bites that can be like dissected down into like short form micro videos that are like less than a minute or maybe 30 seconds or less. Those little tiny little sound bites of nuggets of wisdom and guidance or insights and stuff like that can be shared on social media leading up to the launch of the book, or even beyond after the book. That will potentially attract people to go to your website to learn more about you. And then they'll see that, oh, wow, he's got this book, or they got this book, and I can download it. Oh, wow, this is great. It's so great these days. Technology is really advanced. Audiobooks, it's not something to be left undone, because audiobooks are at an all-time high consumption rate. What are your thoughts on converting into an audiobook, PeggyLee?
Absolutely, do it. Don't wait. Once your book is done, edited, and ready to be published, get it recorded, find someone who will get it to be able to upload it into audible.com. I also offered that service. I did that with a friend of mine. And it doesn't have to be a book that you just published. We did it with a book that she had written back in 2016, I believe. So 5 years ago. And we created an interview series in between some of the chapters to update the reader, or the listener in this case, of what's happened since that time. So it was a really fun project. And so there's not any one way to do things. Just don't think that you just have to read your book. You can create anything any way you want to. I call myself the custom publisher, because if you can envision it, I will get it out as your vision.
So PeggyLee, how do people reach out to you if they're interested in having a conversation with you to possibly start down this journey for them?
That's awesome. I am PeggyLee Hanson all over social media. So you can also reach me at PeggyLee@PeggyLeeHanson.com. You can find out more about me on LinkedIn. So it's linkedin.com/IN/PeggyLee Hanson. And you can see some of the works that I've done on there as well.
So this has been wonderful, very enlightening, and we would love for you to share just one nugget of wisdom or a quote of your own or somebody else's that you would like to leave impressioned upon those that are watching or listening.
If you have been approached or thinking about writing a book, don't wait, don't wait. And the reason is because someone is waiting to hear what you have to say.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much, PeggyLee. And also for those of you who are tuning in to watch on this Tech with Heart show, if you are an expert who has some guidance or insights that you would like to share with our entrepreneurial community, we would love to hear from you. Please reach out to us at techwithheartnetwork.com. Or if you yourself are a business owner, an entrepreneur, and you have the desire to start embracing more technologies into your business so you can stay competitive and relevant, and you like hanging out with really innovative, forward-thinking entrepreneurs, please come join our community. We would love to have you. Go to techwithheartnetwork.com, check out our variety of memberships. And again, if you would like to be represented as an influencer in our community, we'd love to elevate you in that way and help others grow in the process. So techwithheartnetwork.com. Thank you for joining us today. Here's to your success.